Hello friends, and welcome to the Gesundheit Kitchen. My name is Hans, and this is sort of my open love letter to quinoa. And you're probably rolling your eyes because you've seen quinoa since 1998 on every menu and every trendy article, and me too, right? I mean, so I hit the ground running with quinoa. In fact, I was just talking with my wife today, like I remember the first time seeing it in my local grocery store, and it was like an aha moment, like we have quinoa. So, if you are late to the party, it's this weird word, right? Quinoa, quinoa, but it's pronounced keen, like K-E-E-N, wa, W-A-H, quinoa is how it's pronounced. So, again, I've done so many things with quinoa that I kind of got burned out on it. Not because it tastes weird, because it shouldn't have any taste. It's very neutral, but I got excited about sorghum, and I still love sorghum and millet and amaranth and all these different grains. But just from the pure nuts and bolts, if you were to pick one food, and I know I've said this before, if you're feeding your pet human, quinoa is the perfect pet human food. And I have 3 kids, right? So I have my pet humans. It's a complete protein, meaning that it has all of the amino acids that our body can't manufacture on its own. So we have to get those through our diet. So this one food has 6 grams of protein per fourth of a cup. So if you were to eat a whole cup, 6 times 4 is 24 grams of protein, right? I mean, so that's incredibly dense nutrient-wise. Now, there is a chemical component in quinoa that some people say tastes like soap. It's called saponin. But as soon as you rinse the dry grain, that goes completely away. And I think that's where quinoa kind of got a little bit of a bad reputation. People say, I don't quite like it. But again, if it's been rinsed, and sometimes you'll buy it, it'll say pre-rinse, but even still, I give it a quick rinse in a colander, a fine colander, so they don't go through, right before I put it in the skillet. And you cook it just like you would rice, 2 to 1, 2 parts liquid, 1 part quinoa. What's the difference between the colors? There's white quinoa, there's brown quinoa, there's sort of a blackish quinoa. Nutrition-wise, really, it doesn't matter. There is slightly more antioxidants in the darker colors, as with any plant. The darker the color, the higher the antioxidants. But again, not enough to make you choose one or the other. I like using the tricolor just because it's all in one. But there are some dishes where I might choose all white, depending, again, because you eat with your eyes first, what you want the dish to look like. And if I kind of want it to disappear in an ingredient, I'll use the white one where it can go into a vegetarian chili or into a soup. And then people aren't looking like, what is this? It just adds nutritionally, adds texturally. But again, tricolor is great. I cooked half of this bag, because I'd already used half of it, and ended up with basically 8 cups of quinoa that I've been slowly working on. So I've talked about this so many times. I'd like to cook once, eat multiple times. So I often have these cooked grains in my refrigerator ready to go. So when I'm ready to eat, and again, I've stressed, these are cooked. If you eat them raw, they will break your teeth. So they've rinsed, they're cooked, they're in my fridge. You can freeze them to use in soups, to use in salads. Really, just the perfect ingredient. So I just wanted to share one of the ways that I eat quinoa when it's ready, and that's simply in either a scrambled egg format or into like a frittata format, kind of depending on what you're in the mood for. Some people don't like firmer eggs. If you like them a little more scrambled, a little more runny, that's fine too. But again, all I'm going to do essentially is make a quick quinoa and eggs. And I was just in Ecuador down there again. I go to Ecuador once or so a year. Love it down there. And stayed for the first time in the city of Guayaquil. And that's what I was served for breakfast, was basically a little sort of pancake-shaped scrambled eggs, again, slightly firm, where they had in there just some greens, which were something akin to spinach, which I'm going to do today. As well as the quinoa and the scrambled eggs. And again, they did it slightly firmer, so it was dense. So that's kind of what I'm going to emulate, but not going for the shape. They had obviously used a spring mold or a form to make perfect edges. I'm not worried about that too much. So all I'm doing is wilting some spinach, and I just kind of rough tore this up. If you've ever worked with cooked spinach, it sort of disappears into almost nothing pretty quickly. Each egg also has 6 grams of protein, and I can usually eat 2 eggs for breakfast. And a friend of mine giving me some fresh hen eggs. I got the blue. Again, no big difference in the outside color. I'm not eating the shell. I usually save the shells for my garden. They're just excellent to have in the garden. And so I'm just gonna break these up. If I were making kind of more soft scrambled eggs, I might whisk in a little bit of cultured sour cream or labneh. But right as this starts to heat up, I'm gonna pull it off the heat here for a second. I'm gonna add about a fourth a cup, which is an additional 6 grams of protein. So I've got 18 grams of protein here with these 2 eggs. A little bit of protein in the spinach, but not a ton. Mainly you're getting your iron and your niacin and all your chlorophyll in there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this heat off because that's about where I like to have it here. And that carryover heat, so this is that soft scramble point. But if I leave it in the skillet, it's got that carryover heat here, that's gonna turn nice and firm. But this on a piece of sourdough toast, we've talked about sourdough before, the bacteria in sourdough actually kind of breaks down some of the carbohydrates in the bread, makes it easier to digest. I typically season the eggs at the end. If you're adding salt in at the beginning of the scramble that you're making here, it can make the eggs a little more rubbery. The salt actually kind of makes the eggs start to set a little sooner, which again, if you're making a true frittata or a quiche and you want it to be more solid, you can add that at the beginning. But for more of a scramble, whatever consistency you like. I mean, eating eggs is kind of like how people eat steak, like what degree. Some people call them rubbery eggs if you get them to even this stage. But I like that kind of medium firm egg. And 18 grams of protein. That's such an easy way to start your day off with high fiber, which we talked about it a million times with my friend Dr. Evelyn Steinberg. Fiber is your friend. The more fiber you can get, the slower your motility, the better your insulin, blood sugar, glycemic index. Fiber is such a great sponge to absorb that extra bit of insulin that you get after you eat. But this is fiber that's packed with again 18 grams of protein. Delicious, easy to digest. It's almost embarrassingly simple. It's one of those hacks that when you tell people about it, you're almost thinking, why doesn't everybody have quinoa in their fridge? So if you've seen my videos before and you've heard me talk about these high protein, plant-based, the sources of great nutrition, it's not so much that they're easier to digest. I mean, in a lot of ways they are, but the fiber, the protein are two of the things that you're desperately trying to get into your system. Why not have something on the ready? Even if you're making banana bread, add a little bit of cooked quinoa to the mix, to your pancakes. Cooked quinoa, throw it in there. It's I feel like I should be sponsored by quinoa on my arm, but if you think you don't like quinoa, try it again. Make sure you rinse it first. We need every cheat, every hack we can possibly get to get nutrition, to get the best fuel in this engine. And I'm having a little bit of a renaissance with quinoa, and I hope you give it a try as well. If you're not familiar with it, again, don't be afraid of it. Quinoa is your friend. Maybe that's what we should call this. Quinoa is your friend. Until next time, take care of yourself. Always excited when I get those emails. If there's a question that's on your mind, if there's something if you have a hack, something that works for you, share it. This is the kind of thing that people look for when they're first diagnosed. They're looking for this network of ideas, of communication, it becomes an extended family, and I'm proud to be a part of that. But it works both ways. So love to hear from you. Till next time, take care. Be well.